Most people spend their whole lives never thinking about their liver. It doesn't beat like your heart. It doesn't make you breathe like your lungs. It just sits there quietly, tucked under your right rib cage, doing hundreds of jobs every single day without ever asking for attention. And maybe that's the problem, because right now, roughly 80 million Americans have fat building up inside their liver, and the vast majority of them have absolutely no idea. There's no pain, no obvious warning, nothing that sends you to the doctor. It's one of the most common health conditions in the country, and it's also one of the most invisible. After 60, this gets worse in ways that most people never hear about. As you age, your liver actually starts to shrink. By the time you're in your mid-60s, you've lost roughly a third of your liver's volume and blood flow compared to what you had at 40. That means everything your liver has to process, every meal, every medication, every toxin, is being handled by an organ that's physically smaller and running on less fuel. The same diet that felt perfectly fine at 45 can quietly overwhelm a liver at 65. And when fat starts accumulating inside a liver that's already working with reduced capacity, that's when things go from silent to serious. A major national study found that people between 60 and 74 with fatty liver had a 60% higher risk of dying within 5 years compared to people the same age without it. For heart-related deaths specifically, the risk was more than double. This is not some distant concern that might matter decades from now. For people in this age range, a fatty liver is one of the most dangerous conditions you can have and never know about. But here's where the story takes a turn that genuinely changes everything. Because unlike your kidneys, which cannot rebuild what they've lost, the liver is the only solid organ in your entire body that can fully regenerate itself. Surgeons can remove up to 90% of a human liver, and the remaining piece will grow back to its full size within weeks. That is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. That is what the liver actually does, which means the fat that's been quietly building up in your liver for years, the silent damage that's been accumulating with every meal, your liver is ready and willing to undo all of it. It just needs you to give it the right raw materials. And the research on what those raw materials are is far more specific and far more encouraging than most people realize. Before I walk you through any of this, I want to be upfront. This video is not medical advice, and nothing here replaces the guidance of your own healthcare provider. What I'm going to do is put real research in front of you so you can make smarter choices and have better conversations with your medical team. Let's start with the one that surprises almost everybody, because it's probably already sitting on your kitchen counter and you've been told for years that you should cut back on it. Coffee. If you're over 60, you've almost certainly heard that you should be drinking less of it. Too much caffeine, not great for blood pressure, maybe switch to 1 cup a day. But when it comes to your liver, the research says the exact opposite, and the numbers are striking. A study that followed nearly 500,000 people found that coffee drinkers had a 21% lower risk of chronic liver disease and a 49% lower risk of dying from liver problems compared to people who didn't drink coffee at all. The protection got stronger the more people drank, up to about 3 or 4 cups a day. And it's not just the caffeine doing this work. Coffee contains hundreds of compounds that interact with liver cells in ways researchers are still uncovering, which is why even decaf showed benefit, just not quite as much. If you've been drinking coffee every morning for the last 30 years, your liver has been quietly thanking you this entire time. Now, there's a direct connection between that cup of coffee and what happens next, because everything you eat and drink travels through a specific blood vessel that goes straight from your gut to your liver before it reaches any other organ in your body. Your liver is literally the first stop for everything your digestive system absorbs, which means the food you eat hits your liver before it hits anything else. That's why what's happening in your gut matters enormously for what's happening in your liver, and it's why oats are quietly one of the most important things you can eat for liver health. When you eat a bowl of oatmeal, the fiber in those oats feeds specific bacteria living in your gut. Those bacteria produce compounds that travel through that direct gut-to-liver highway and deliver anti-inflammatory signals straight to your liver tissue. Research has shown that this process reduces liver inflammation and can even slow down liver scarring. But oats do something else that matters even more after 60. They keep your blood sugar steady throughout the morning, And that's critical because every time your blood sugar spikes, your liver receives a signal to convert that excess sugar into fat and store it. A bowl of oatmeal in the morning isn't just breakfast. It's your liver starting the day without being asked to manufacture and store fat it doesn't need. And if you want to work that gut to liver connection even harder, another food does it from a completely different angle. Garlic. A clinical trial took a group of people with confirmed fatty liver disease and gave half of them the equivalent of roughly 2 cloves of garlic a day for 15 weeks, where the other half received a placebo. By the end, the garlic group showed measurable improvements in liver fat, liver enzymes, cholesterol, and fasting blood sugar. What garlic appears to do is slow down the liver's own fat production machinery while simultaneously calming the inflammation that makes fatty liver progress into something worse. And there's something almost poetic about that because your grandmother probably cooked with garlic every single night, not because she read a study, but because it tastes good. Her kitchen instincts were medically sound all along, and she never even knew it. Staying in the kitchen for a moment, there's something most people already have on their shelf that research shows acts almost like a protective coating for liver cells. Extra virgin olive oil. A randomized clinical trial had fatty liver patients consume olive oil daily for 12 weeks, and by the end, the severity of their fatty liver had decreased, even in patients who hadn't lost weight or improved their cholesterol. The fat in olive oil is fundamentally different from saturated fat when it comes to how your liver handles it. Instead of being stored, it actually helps the liver break down fat that's already there. A separate study found that women who consumed the most extra virgin olive oil had a 57% lower chance of developing fatty liver in the first place. You don't need to drink it by the glass. A couple of tablespoons a day, drizzled on a salad or used to cook your evening vegetables, gives your liver something it can genuinely work with. Now, speaking of vegetables, this next one has a mechanism behind it that most people have never connected to liver health in any way. Leafy greens like spinach, arugula, and kale. Most people eat these thinking about vitamins or maybe fiber, but the real liver story involves something entirely different. Your body takes natural compounds found in leafy greens and converts them into a molecule that directly reduces fat accumulation inside the liver. Research has found that people with higher intake of these naturally occurring vegetable compounds had significantly lower odds of fatty liver disease, and just 1 cup of leafy greens a day appears to be enough to make a measurable difference. And what makes this even more interesting is that beets deliver that same benefit in a far more concentrated form. A clinical trial actually compared beetroot juice head to head against a full Mediterranean diet for improving fatty liver, and the beetroot juice performed just as well, and by some measures even better, at reducing liver fat and improving liver enzyme levels over 12 weeks. A single root vegetable available in every grocery store for a couple of dollars essentially matches an entire dietary overhaul in its impact on the liver. Roast them, juice them, shred them raw into a salad. Your liver doesn't care how they arrive. It just wants what's inside them. Now let me shift to something that works through a completely different pathway, because not every food on this list helps the liver the same way, and that's exactly the point. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. The omega-3 fats in these fish don't just reduce inflammation the way we usually hear about. They actually signal your liver to slow down its own production of fat. Multiple clinical trials have shown that consistent omega-3 intake reduces measurable liver fat in people with fatty liver disease, and 3 servings of fish a week appear to be the threshold where the research starts showing real results. For practical purposes, canned sardines and canned salmon are some of the most affordable and convenient sources you can find, and a tin from the grocery aisle does the same job as a fresh filler from a specialty market. Broccoli works through yet another route entirely. There's a natural compound found in broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts that researchers have found helps prevent and may even reverse fat buildup inside the liver. In studies, subjects eating broccoli regularly develop significantly less liver fat than control groups eating the same high-fat diet. And there's a practical detail that most people miss entirely. If you chop your broccoli and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes before you cook it, you activate a natural enzyme that makes the protective compound far more available to your body. Most people chop and immediately throw it into the pan. That small pause before cooking actually makes a real difference. Walnuts bring something different to the table altogether. They're unusually high in a plant-based omega-3 and a specific set of antioxidants that you simply don't find in other common nuts. Research shows they reduce fat accumulation in the liver and protect liver cells from the kind of damage that drives fatty liver disease forward. But what makes walnuts particularly interesting is that they also feed beneficial bacteria in your gut, which circles back to that direct gut to liver highway we talked about earlier. About 7 walnut halves a day, roughly a small handful, is what the researchers use, and you can toss them into your morning oatmeal and cover 2 items before you've even left the kitchen. The last one is blueberries, and this might be the most fascinating of all because of how they work. The deep blue-purple color in blueberries isn't just pigment. It comes from compounds that research shows can actually change how the liver's own fat processing genes behave. Studies found that consistent blueberry intake reduced liver damage by as much as 37%, and the reason goes beyond simply blocking damage after it happens. These compounds appear to shift the liver at a fundamental level, moving it away from storing fat and toward burning it. Fresh or frozen makes no difference whatsoever since the active compounds survive freezing perfectly well, which means a bag from the freezer section works just as effectively as a pint from the farmer's market. Now here's the thing I keep coming back to after going through all of this research. Every single one of these foods is ordinary. There's not a single exotic ingredient on this list. No high-end supplement, no powder. You have to order from a specialty website. It's coffee, oatmeal, olive oil, garlic, spinach, beets, fish, broccoli, walnuts, and blueberries. Most of you already have half of these in your house right now. You've been sitting on the solution without realizing it because nobody connected the dots for you in a way that made it clear what these everyday foods are actually doing inside your liver. And what they're doing matters more than most people understand, because the research says that mild fatty liver can begin turning around in as little as 3 to 6 months with the right dietary changes. Not years, not decades, one season. You could start today, and by the end of this summer, your liver could already be measurably lighter and working better than it has in years. That's not wishful thinking. That's what clinical trials have documented. Your liver hasn't given up on you. It's the one organ in your body that was built to come back, built to heal, built to regenerate in ways that no other organ can match. It's been waiting for you to give it a reason, and now you have 10 of them. If there's someone in your life over 60, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, someone who's never had their liver checked and probably never thought to, send them this video today, because their liver isn't sending them any warnings. And by the time it does, the easy window for turning things around may already be closing. This is the kind of information that changes what happens next, but only if it reaches the person who needs it.